the history of the Turing test is kind of intriguing. This is based on an 8-page paper around 1950 called Can Machines Think or something. Turing in that paper says, the question whether machines can think is too meaningless to deserve discussion. And he's right. Asking whether machines can think is like asking whether submarines swim. If you want to call that swimming, it's swimming. And in fact, like it takes the airplanes fly. In English, they fly. In Hebrew, they glide. Do people fly? In Japanese, when they're jumping, they fly. In English, they don't. These are terminological questions. What we can do, and Turing, he did suggest this imitation game, but it is not, as he pointed out, an answer to the question whether machines think, because it's not a serious question. The notion thinking isn't well enough defined, so you can ask whether it's being achieved by some device. Now, it's kind of striking that if you go back to the 17th century, the same questions were asked, but as scientific questions. So go back to Descartes, who observed, as far as we know correctly, that this creative aspect of language use is a unique human capacity. Well, that immediately led to experimental proposals. De Courtois, the minor Cartesians, outlined tests that you could use, a series of experiments that you could use if there was another creature who looked like you and you wanted to find out if he had this capacity. And he pointed out, like a scientist, that if the creature passes all the tests you can think of, then it would be reasonable to assume that he has the capacity. It doesn't prove it, but you don't prove things in science. That was a serious version of the Turing test. It was about something real, namely a capacity that you're trying to test for. It's kind of like a litmus test, for acidity. There's something real, you're trying to find out whether some object has it. That's very different from the Turing test. In fact, in many ways, I think there's been kind of intellectual regression from the 17th century to today, replacing the serious tests about reality, litmus tests for a particular capacity, by a test that's basically like answering the question whether submarines swim.